And so if you guys are seniors, raise your hand if you are seniors. Okay, a lot of seniors. All right, if you are juniors, raise your hand. Okay, a lot of juniors. Sophomore or below, raise your hand. Okay, awesome. Great to have you guys here. And as far as schools go, just go ahead and yell out some of your schools. Where are you guys coming from? What schools you guys join us from? Farragut, West, Hard Valley. What is that? STEM Academy. Okay. All right. So we got quite a few from all over the place. And now for our questions. What questions did you guys come up with that you want us to answer for you today? No questions. All right, what we got?
So the last sections, I didn't get through all of them. So how would you recommend being able to complete the science and reading sections?
Okay, so science and reading timing questions. Okay. What other questions we got? So was your question, is it true that we need to know certain equations for the math? And I think I missed the second part of it. Yes. Yeah. So equations on the math. I got a couple of things we can definitely give you all on that. What else we got? So general timing strategies for the ACT as a whole. All right, yes, we'll definitely hit on all these, work them in. Yeah, if any other questions come up, you guys are more than welcome to just shout out during any time of the presentation. But I want to start off just telling you a little bit about me and my background, because it's probably very different than you might be imagining right now. I was the worst student ever when I was y'all's ages. I was a Farragut student. I was one of them. And I never went to class, had to retake Algebra 1 5 times when I was in high school. And I actually eventually dropped out of high school. I never finished high school. Tried to make it in the real world without having a high school diploma, realized that things were not going to go as I had hoped. So I became uber motivated to do something with my life. I got my GED, enrolled at Pellissippi State, and was fortunate enough to have mentors take me under their wings and teach me how to be successful at school and life. And it worked. I made almost perfect straight A's when I was in college. I had one of the highest math averages. If anybody's been through Pellissippi, I made also a perfect 100 in every math class I took when I was there. I was president of my student body, made on USA Today's All Tennessee academic team. And after I graduated from Maryville College, I won the International Student Excellence Award for the transition that I had from high school to college. And I say all that to say that regardless of where you are at on this ACT, in your academics, in your life, you can be in a very different place if you're willing to do what it takes and put in the work to make that happen. So we, hopefully we'll have some tidbits that will make the ACT much easier for you. But to tell you a little bit about my ACT experience, now I have been a full-time ACT prep coach for most of the last 9 years now. One of the only full-time ACT prep coaches in the nation. I've coached more than 1,000 students on the ACT. And of the students that we have worked with in our 13-week long program, right around 42 to 45% get between a 5 and an 8-point composite increase. Just to see what some of them are, you guys got a little packet when you came in this morning. If you want to go ahead and pull that out, we're going to be looking at a few different things on that. You can go ahead and flip to the back. You may know some of the students that we have worked with. This is our wall of greats here. This is where everybody wants to end up. But yeah, just try to find somebody that is around where you imagine you are, if you don't know, and where they ended up. So we got Kat Browning from Grace, 9-point increase, 20 to a 29. Josiah Swafford from HVA, 9-point increase, 21 to a 30. Kate Ash from Farragut, 9-point increase, 21 to a 30. Chad from LNN, 9-point increase, 21 to a 30. Brody Young from HVA, 9-point increase, 23 to a 32. Justin Pullett from HVA, 9-point increase, 24 to a 33. Nicholas Gilbert from Oneida, 9-point increase, 25 to a 34. Sarah Perez from Catholic, 9-point increase, 25 to a 34. Emma Poindexter from Farragut, 9-point increase, 26 to a 35. Kenzie Hemsley from HVA, 10-point increase at 18 to a 28. Jacob Cohen from Farragut, 10-point increase, 22 to a 32. Matthew Bringle from Grace, 10-point increase, 23 to a 33. Eddie Chashu from LNN, 11-point increase, 21 to a 32. Grant Coggin from Farragut, 11-point increase, 21 to a 32. Arpit Patel from LNN, 12-point increase, 21 to a 33. Claire Groom from Farragut, 13-point increase, 21 to a 34. Emily Seibel from Carnes, 2-point increase, 24 to a 36. Macy Hudson, who has been your proctor today, 2-point increase, 34 to a 36. Crawford Hovis from Webb, 3-point increase, 33 to a 36. And current record holder to a 36, Mr. Davis Garrett from Lansing Christian, 10-point increase, 26 to a 36. So regardless of where you are at, you can be in a very different place. And we would like to introduce the idea, or at least get rid of the idea, that you have to be a genius to get a 28 or above on this ACT. Our experience is that nearly 100% of students with at least a 3.5 GPA are capable of at least a 28 on the ACT. And you know, if more students just got rid of the idea that this test is as hard as it is, it might even just be quite a bit easier for you to score higher. And we're going to talk a little bit about how the mindset is impacting your overall performance on this test. But we want to just begin by talking about scholarships before we actually start talking about prep, because a lot of students aren't aware of the guaranteed scholarship model. And what we have given you here is the merit-based scholarship guides in Tennessee. So if you want to open up to that front page, the way that this scholarship guide works is that you just scroll down the left-hand side to find your ACT score and your GPA, and that tells you all of the scholarships that you are eligible for. It's essentially going to be there, everything there and back are going to be scholarships that you are eligible for. And these are guaranteed, or most of these are guaranteed scholarships, which means if you have the GPA and the ACT necessary, you are guaranteed that money as long as you get everything turned in on time at that school. So we've listed out the amount that you get per year and over 4 years. And then we've listed the tuition and fees at that school. And then you have the amount remaining for you to pay per year with that scholarship. So even though some of these scholarships are really large, it still might make more sense for you to go to another school because of how much you will actually end up paying per year. We've also included a few different metrics to help you decide on where you want to go to college. If you look over here at the acceptance rates, you know, a really high acceptance rate sometimes is a little bit worrisome just because of thinking about who you're going to be surrounding yourself with when you go to that school. Our humble opinion is that the ideal scenario for you is to go to a school where you are below the average or below what most of the students that you're going to be surrounded with are going to have. You want to have to grow as a person when you get there. You certainly don't want to be at the top of that school if you can avoid it. You know, it's about challenging yourself and getting yourself prepared for your future. So just something to consider when you're going to these schools. Even some of the honors programs are still going to allow you to surround yourself with a great population of students, but something there to consider. Another thing is the graduation rates and the students who return after 1 year. If that number is low, that's a red flag. If the students who return after their first year is low, that might be a school you want to reconsider, because probably whatever they're telling you is the case is maybe something different than what the reality is once you get there. And then the last one is the average salary after graduation. So average salaries, you know, I mean, this is such an up and down because it changes so much depending on what you major in, but it's just a metric to allow you to compare one college to another and seeing the return on your investment as far as what you can expect after you graduate. As you scroll down, the ones that are highlighted in red are your full tuition scholarships. So you can see where you can go for free. And for any of you that are thinking about going out of state, we have this same guide on our website for all of the out of state guaranteed scholarships, or a significant hundreds of guaranteed out of state scholarships. And some schools are buying students. Alabama, Auburn, I mean, these schools are doing what they can if you have the ACT score to get you to come to that school. And you probably find a lot of schools that you might even be able to go to for free out of state once you hit that 30 and above mark. So check that out if you are interested in going out of state. As far as the actual ACT goes, we want to start off just by giving you some overview strategy stuff that'll hit on some of the timing questions that you asked about as well. And then we're going to go into the individual sections just to give y'all the low-hanging fruit items. They're going to make this test a little bit easier for you next time that you take it. But we want to give a disclaimer that everything has to be practiced to be able for it to be useful in increasing your ACT score. So don't assume that you can just take these things and then go take another ACT and do better. You've got to practice these techniques for them to impact you. But if you want to take out a pen, you can write on your tests or wherever you have to take some notes. You might want to take some notes on this stuff. We're just going to go over the 4 low-hanging fruit items first that you can do over the entire test or most of the tests. All right, so the first thing we want you guys to write down is stop trying to finish the test. Stop trying to finish the test. The goal is not to finish the test. The goal is to get more questions correct than you got on the last test. And so many of you are trying to rush to get to the end of the test and missing so many of the questions that you could have gotten correct had you just slowed down a little bit to get to the end, where you're probably going to miss a lot of them anyway, because those are the harder questions. And to give you some conviction on this, you know, so many of you are thinking that you need to get more questions correct than you do. I'm going to go down each of these different sections. On the reading passage, you don't even need to make it to the last section. There are 4 essays. You don't even need to make it to the 4th essay to score a 27. So you can have a 27 or above without even making it to the last section. You use all your time on those first 3 passages. It's beautiful on the reading because there's no outside knowledge that you need to get the reading questions correct. Every answer is right there on the page. So if you just spend a little bit more time to find those answers, you got a 27 on the reading. On the science, you only have to complete 5 of the 7 passages to get a 27 on the science. On the math, you only need to complete 45 of the 60 questions to get a 28. And so many of you would have done so much better if you spent all 60 minutes on those first 45 questions. And it's our experience that daggum near 100% of students can consistently get the first 30 correct without ever missing them with not a ton of prep. Takes a little bit more prep for those 31 through 45, but just about everybody can get those as well. And then it doesn't really get tricky until those last 15. So if you guys spent more of your 60 minutes on those first 45 questions, it is an easy way to get a higher score on that math. And then on the English, 61 of the 75 questions. It's how many you need to complete to get a 28 on the English on most of these tests. So that is our first tip, is to stop worrying so much about finishing the test and start worrying a lot more about slowing down and getting all the questions you're capable of getting correct, and eliminating those simple errors. But to help you maximize your time a little bit more effectively, and this will go to your question on the back, the one timing advice that we have that everybody can start practicing right now is skipping questions. It is very foreign to a lot of you to skip questions, but it is the single easiest timing device that you have available to you. And you have to practice this to get used to it, but especially on the math. If you can just get yourself, the second that a question starts taking you too long, just to skip it, go to the next. It's like mind-blowing, super complicated stuff, but it really helps a lot of students. And the methodology of skipping questions that we recommend is a 3-round system on the English and the math. So your first round, you're essentially getting all of the easy questions that you definitely know how to do. Gotten all the easy points on that first round. Then in your second round, you're getting the questions that you know how to do, but might take you a little bit longer. And then your last round, you might have 3 or 4 other questions that you try that you could probably figure it out given enough time, but you don't know exactly how to do it. And then you're just never even trying the questions that you definitely don't know how to do. Just leave them blank. I mean, don't leave them blank. Obviously, you fill in some answer. So as far as timing goes, those are the 3 simplest things that you can do that don't even require any more knowledge to be able to improve your scores. As far as guessing goes, what is the letter that most of you have been taught to guess on standardized tests? C. And if you think that the ACT doesn't know that almost every student in America has been taught to guess C, you're fooling yourself. Okay, we we were joking in there, as we often do, because we try to spread this knowledge as much as we can. But several of you, on the math section especially, which is the only one that has a true middle answer, just put C for the last 10, and there's not one answer that is C on the last 10 of this test, because they will often do that on the last 10 of any math section, because they know that's where most students guess. They also know the other questions where more students are going to guess, and they will often have those not be C as well. So any answer other than C will typically be fine. But on this test, also B was not a very good one, so I tried that as well. But it's just a little piece to consider. As far as one thing that is often different of the way that you should prep than what a lot of students think. A lot of students' first assumption is to go right to the areas where they are weakest. And for most students, that's not the ideal route. Ideal route is to maximize your easy points, like where you're already good. If you're already good in English, you're already good at reading, all you have to do is tie off the loose ends and work on your timing a little bit, and you'll score in the upper 30s with very little effort, especially on the reading. But a lot of students, want to start with the math because the math is what they have the hardest time with. But the reality is the math is where you're going to get your slowest gains of all the different sections, because there are so many formulas for you to learn. And yeah, so we actually have something for you for the formulas, our Quizlet online, which is free. If you guys search for Outliers Advantage on Quizlet and just click on our ACT prep class, we have 2 formula sets in there that you can use to memorize and practice all of the math formulas. Okay, so that is a tool for you to practice and learn those formulas. All right, so we're going to spend a little bit of time going over the individual sections and just give you the low-hanging fruit item on each of these different sections to improve your score. So we're going to start off with the reading section. And the one big tip that we have on the reading section is to read the passage first and then go to the questions. All right. A lot of schools are teaching the questions first method. And if you want to keep using that, if it's working for you, by all means. But what we notice about students who use the questions first method is that their scores go up and down and up and down. There's very little consistency to those scores. But we have had more than 40 students get perfect scores on the reading section. And as far as I know, every single one of them have used the read the passage first and then go to the questions method. All right. Where a lot of you are, so that is just something it's good to get in the habit of in the beginning. And there's a million variations that you can do on the questions, on the passage first method. How long you spend on it. Do you read the whole thing and then go to the questions? How much of it do you, there's a bajillion different ways. But the one thing that we see that consistently works, passage first, then go to the questions. As far as the science passages go, don't read anything. Go straight to the questions. And you may never need to read anything. We've had students get 36s on the science section without reading almost anything. Maybe a couple of parts of the passages, but almost everything can be answered directly from the charts and the graphs. And a lot of you are thinking that you need to understand what these words mean. And you're seeing like these big chemistry charts. And you're like, I haven't taken chemistry. I don't know what it means. The good thing is you don't need to know what any of it means. You're just trying to match this insane, crazy word with the same insane, crazy word on the chart and graph and decide if it's going up or down when this other thing is going up or down. And when you simplify down your thinking to realizing it should be easy, every question on the science can be answered in 30 seconds or less. So they're not trying to have you do super complex. If you're struggling with it, you're probably making it harder than it needs to be, overthinking this thing. All right. So, yeah, you know, and a lot of times they even give you hints. They will bold and highlight and italicize words that they're going to ask questions about so that you don't even have to read. You can just go to where they have the italicized question or the italicized part of the passage. They're actually trying to make it easier on you on those science sections. As far as the English section goes, the biggest error that most students are making is skimming. A lot of your schools have taught you to skim. And you got to understand about this test, it is about your attention to detail. It is a test of your attention to detail. And so many of you would do better on the English section right now if you just slowed down and read super close and don't worry about finishing that test. You will get better at the timing as you practice more. But initially, you just want to get all of the questions correct that you already know how to get correct. And then it's, you know, beyond that is basically grammar, basic middle school grammar rules. We had a 7th grader that did our program this summer, and this 7th grader got a 36 on the English section on the real ACT. So some of you would have done better if you had done it closer to middle school when you used to have to really think about all those grammar things, and you've lost some of it. But it's time to take some time to go back and actually learn those rules. The other little tip that we have on the English is just when in doubt, the shortest and simplest answer is usually correct. When in doubt, shortest and simplest answer is usually correct. And this is where a lot of students get tripped up thinking that it's supposed to be a hard test. But a lot of times the answer they just want, the simplest way to convey something is what they're looking for. All right, so now we, you know, on the math, I talked to you guys about the formulas on our website. You know, that is hard. The only thing I guess I could recommend to you, if you have the time, is that Khan Academy has an SAT prep, a free SAT prep training program on their website. And it's a little bit hard to find and nobody talks about it for some reason. But if you just click on courses, test prep, SAT prep, it'll give you a diagnostics test that'll find your gaps in understanding and help you rebuild from your middle school math up, which is, for a lot of you, the math that you're missing. You know, so many schools are waiting until you guys are in like pre-cal and cal for you to take your ACT. But there are only 4 pre-cal questions per test. Everything else is pre-algebra, algebra, geometry, algebra 2, little bit of statistics, nothing you need to take a statistics class to get correct. So realizing that you need to brush up on like your middle school math and your algebra 1 that you haven't done in a while is something that Khan Academy can help you do. It just does take a long time because the lessons are quite long, but they're very good. So as far as self-prepping in general goes, we just want to talk about some things in school that you can be naturally doing as you're going through high school to prepare you for a great ACT score and what doesn't work. We see almost no correlation between GPA and ACT score. GPA is really measuring your ability to work hard. Your ACT score is your mastery of your understanding of foundations of grammar, foundations of math, reading speed and comprehension, and science reasoning. Okay. So as far as what does have a huge impact on your ACT scores, reading fiction. And we know that everybody knows that, and everybody knows you need to improve your speed. But what you might not realize with this is that if the person sitting next to you today knew the content less well than you, okay, you know it better than them, but they have a faster reading speed, they're probably going to score higher. Because if they can read twice as fast as you, they're just going to be able to spend more time thinking about and getting to more of the problems because it's a time test. That's the only part that is hard about the ACT, is completing it in the amount of time that they give you. Everybody could do significantly better if you had more time. The only thing that's hard is doing it in the time they give you. You truly have to have a mastery level understanding. It has to be muscle memory. You're thinking about the grammar rules and trying to remember those formulas. You lost on that question already. So 20 minutes of reading fiction per day. You do that for 3 or 4 months. You do that for 6 months. You can double your reading speed. And that alone can increase 2 to 3 points on your ACT just from working on improving your reading speed. If you can double it, you will see incredible gains on your ACT score. And many of you will plateau on the reading section at whatever is your reading speed ability. So increasing that can help a ton. The other thing we see a very positive correlation is AP/IB classes if you're at West. And yeah, I mean, the more AP classes that a student has taken, the higher starting score they almost always have in comparison to their peers. So if you have the ability to work in, not dual enrollment, not honors classes, specifically AP classes is where we see the impact. So just something to think about when you are picking those classes. As far as once you get to actual prepping for the ACT, this is the best book that we have ever found for self-prepping on the ACT. It's called The Black Book for the ACT by Mike Barrett. It is essentially the tips and tricks that the ACT does not want you to know. And that is why we love this book, because they're going to tell you a lot of things that the ACT doesn't want you to know. McGraw-Hill, Princeton Review, there are many things that they're just not going to say because they don't want to upset the ACT. This guy doesn't care. And so if you're going to self-prep, this is a great book. It will require one other book that is out of print. So you got to do a little bit of searching for it. But it is available online as well. You're just going to use one. It doesn't even matter if you have writing in it or not. But those are a great guide. The only thing we recommend for that is plan out about 12, about 3 months, 12 or 13 weeks of doing at least an hour per day. take it seriously when you do your prep, and make sure that you're going to devote what it takes to increase it. One of the things we'll give you for self-prep, I want everybody to write this down. It's called crackact.com. We're pretty sure that what they do is illegal, but they haven't been taken down. So it has 50 real ACT tests on there, past administered ACT tests. So you can practice all of the things that we've been talking about here and get yourself prepared for your ACT. Last but not least, if you guys are going to hire somebody for your test prep, we would greatly appreciate if you would consider our program. We have intensive 13-week programs, year-long programs, 5-week-long programs, but our 13-week program is what most students do. It is intensive. You're looking at an hour and a half to 2 hours a day of homework for that entire 13 weeks with 1 day off each week. But reality is that it's worth it. It's very hard, but you will see a 5-point increase or greater if you do the work and work the system the way it is designed to be done. If it doesn't sound like a good fit for you, we would certainly appreciate if you help spread the word. Our website is very easy to remember, actprep.com. We're located here in Knoxville, and we work with students all over the country. So we would love to have you guys join us in our physical location if you guys are here local in Knoxville. Beyond that, I think we should be close to having these tests graded. Do we have any words? So we'll have that check. If you guys do have any individual questions, we'll just hang out and wait while we let you guys go to the bathroom, do whatever else you want to do while I was getting these done. But so you guys are welcome to head to the restroom, and we should have these grades, these tests graded here shortly, and have for you back in the room.